U.S. State Department recently updated its list of the world's worst religious freedom violators, controversially removing Nigeria from the annual list. The change was made the day before Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in the country for his just completed African tour. Joining us now for his analysis is Sam Brownback, Senior Fellow at Open Doors USA and former United States Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom. Ambassador Brownback, welcome back. Great to be with you. I know during your tenure with the Trump administration, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo added Nigeria to that list of worst religious freedom violators. What's your reaction to Nigeria now being removed from that list? And do we know the reasoning for that decision?
Well, I think it's a terrible decision. I thought it was really the wrong way to go. And I also thought it was kind of the revenge of the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy at State Department didn't want to have Nigeria designated as a country of particular concern. They don't think there's a tie of any sort of religious issues involved in all the killings that are taking place in Nigeria. And yet this is just crazy, because there's so much of the religion that's involved in this, but they just want to deny it. And they believe if they don't categorize it as any sort of tie to religion, that somehow the problem won't fester, it'll go away. Yet right now, 10 Christians a day on average are being killed in Nigeria. It's probably the second most deadly place to be a Christian in the world behind Afghanistan. And last year led to a 60% increase in Christian martyrdom around the world, and much of that was due to the killings in Nigeria.
Ambassador Brownback, for those who aren't that familiar with the situation in Nigeria, I mean, you touched on it. Can you give us maybe more of an overview of what's happening over there as it relates to, Christian persecution, and what's sparking all of this?
It's a terrorist convention. Islamic radical terrorist groups are moving into northern Nigeria in particular. They're attacking people. They've given groups that were normally nomadic herders, instead of herding cattle with sticks, they now have AK-47s that they're driving around with and attacking primarily Christian villages. It's really the effort of the global terrorist community to establish the next caliphate in that northern Nigeria and the region called the Sahel. That's what's really driving this. And we need to get out ahead of this before this becomes a full-scale conflagration and war that's taking place, and possibly even a genocide.
Yeah, and as we know, Nigeria removed from that list. Russia was added to that. Can you talk a little bit about that and the concerns there in that country?
Well, the concerns on Russia are significant, and they're real. It's not as deadly by any means as Nigeria. Primarily what you have taking place there is they pick on Jehovah's Witnesses in particular, a number of also other Protestant groups that the dominant Russian Orthodox Church doesn't want operating in Russia. And so they really try to squeeze them out, and the government does the bidding that the Russian Orthodox Church wants to take place. Russians need to change. They need to open back up. It's just not nearly as deadly as the situation in Nigeria.
Oh, definitely, for sure. What else about this list this year? What else do you find noteworthy about it? And also, what other countries are you keeping your eye on?
Well, the big one I'm keeping my eye on is China. They're the future of oppression. They're what it's going to look like in as we go forward. They've developed these really sophisticated high-tech systems, facial recognition systems, cameras everywhere. And then they've got a social credit score system where they score people down if they're religious at all. So they are really, and then they've got a genocide against the Uyghurs taking place in the western part of the country. And Uyghurs are primarily Muslims, but they pick on house church Christians, they pick on official church people. My concern with them is not just what they do, but that they're going to export these systems, as I mentioned, to other authoritarian regimes. And we don't want these high-tech virtual police states to be springing up all over the world and persecuting people of faith. That's, to me, the big near-term issue to watch out for.
Yeah, and before I let you go, Ambassador, really quickly, I want to get your take on this. Recently, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that the Biden administration is committed to defending religious freedom as a human right. I'd like to get your take on that. And also, how would you rate the administration so far, and what more would you like to see from the U.S. and the international community as a whole?
I would really like to see the United States and the international community as a whole stand up for religious freedom as a fundamental right. And if they will, we will have less violence in the world. But what we're seeing taking place now is genocides primarily based upon religious minorities being prosecuted and persecuted by the religious majorities. And we've got to stand up for this fundamental right, or you're going to see a lot more killings and genocides in the world. That's what I'd like to see the international community and the current administration really step up and do a lot more of, is to say this is a fundamental right. Everybody's entitled to it everywhere, all the time, and we're going to fight for it because it's so much a foundation of building the human rights efforts around the world. Is if you can get this big one, get it right.
Well, Ambassador Brownback, always great to speak with you and get your expertise. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.